Admiral Lisa Grant stood in the command center on Luna Base. Through the giant windows, she could see Earth hanging in space like a blue marble. Soon, she would see it for the last time. Around her, hundreds of people worked at their stations. Screens showed ships moving through space. Numbers counted down the hours until departure. The biggest move in human history was happening, and Lisa was in charge of making it work. "Admiral, the first transport ships are loading now," said Captain Nicole Adams. She was young but good at her job. Her fingers flew over her control panel as she guided massive ships through space. Lisa nodded. "How many people on the first wave?" 50 million. Mostly families with children. They get to leave first. On the screens, Lisa could see the ships. They looked like moving cities. Each one was 10 miles long and 2 miles wide. Inside were homes, schools, hospitals, and everything humans would need for the long journey ahead. These ships had been built in secret for 20 years. Colonel Danny Pierce had planned for this day since humans first joined the Galactic Council. He knew that one day the aliens might turn against humanity. So he prepared. "Where is Pierce now?" Lisa asked. "On Titan, Admiral. He's supervising the fuel loading." Pierce had been smart. He told everyone the ships were for mining asteroids. The aliens never suspected they were really escape vehicles. Now, as the countdown continued, his planning was saving the human race. Engineer. Paul Martinez was working 18 hours a day to finish the new engines. These were not normal fusion drives. They were something new, something that could push ships faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "How much longer, Paul?" Lisa asked over the communication link. Paul's face appeared on her screen. He was covered in grease and looked tired. 12 more hours, Admiral. The last engine will be ready just in time." "Make it happen. 2 billion lives depend on you." Dr. Maria Santos had a different job. She was in charge of saving Earth's life. Not just human life, but every plant and animal that made Earth special. Her teams worked day and night to collect seeds, DNA samples, and embryos. "We're taking the elephants today," Maria reported, "and the last of the tigers. They'll sleep during the journey and wake up on new worlds." Lisa smiled a little. At least some of Earth would survive, even if humans never came back. The aliens were not sitting still. Council fleets were moving toward human space. They thought humans were just making noise, that they would give up when they saw the alien ships. Admiral Velthar commanded the biggest council fleet. He was from the Dominion, a race that looked like metal spiders. He had fought many wars and won them all. He did not think humans could surprise him. "How many ships do they have?" Velthar asked his officers. "Maybe 3,000, Admiral. Old designs. Nothing dangerous." Velthar made a sound like laughing. 3,000 ships against 50,000 council ships. This will be over quickly." But the council did not know about the human ships hidden in the outer system. They did not know about Operation Lighthouse. They thought they were chasing a beaten enemy. Captain Ben Taylor had the hardest job of all. His ships had to delay the council fleets while the evacuation happened. He had only 500 ships against thousands of alien vessels. "Remember," Ben told his captains over the communication link, "we don't need to win. We just need to buy time. Every hour we hold them back, more humans escape." Ben's fleet was made up of volunteers. Every person knew they might not survive, but they also knew their sacrifice would save their families. The first battle happened at the Centauri Gate. This was a space station that controlled travel between star systems. Ben's ships arrived first and set up defenses. When the council fleet appeared, it was like watching a storm approach. Thousands of ships of every size and shape. Some looked like flying buildings. Others moved like living creatures. All ships. "This is Captain Taylor," Ben said on the open channel. "Today we fight for humanity's freedom. Make every shot count." The battle was fierce. Human ships were smaller and faster than the alien vessels. They darted between the big council ships. like angry wasps. Their weapons were precise and deadly. But there were too many alien ships. One by one, human vessels were destroyed. The Centauri gate fell after 6 hours of fighting. Ben barely escaped with half his fleet. But the delay had worked. 6 hours was enough time for 10 more transport ships to load and leave. The next battle was at Wolf 359. This time, Ben used different tactics. He hid his ships behind asteroids and attacked in small groups. When the Council ships tried to follow, they ran into minefields. Lieutenant Commander Helen Wright was Ben's communication officer. She had been born on Wolf 359 and knew every rock. In the system, Council fleet is trying to go around the minefield, Helen reported. Good, Ben said. Let them. The long way takes them 3 more hours. While Ben's fleet fought and died, the evacuation continued. Every day, more ships left. For the dark space beyond the galaxy, families said goodbye to the only worlds they had ever known. On Earth, the last groups were getting ready to leave. President Alex Carter would be on one of the final ships. He walked through the empty halls of the White House, touching things he would never see again. Captain Jake Sullivan found the president in the Oval Office, looking out the window at the Rose Garden. "It's time, Mr. President," Jake said quietly. Carter nodded. "I know, I'm just saying goodbye." They walked together to the transport that would take them to the waiting ships. Behind them, Earth continued to turn, but soon no humans would be there to see it. The last message from humanity came from Helen Wright. She was alone on her ship, the rest of Ben's fleet destroyed in the final battle. The Council ships were closing in, but she had one thing left to do. "This is Lieutenant Commander Helen Wright of the United Earth Defense Force," she broadcast on all frequencies. "To the Galactic Council, you wanted us gone. Your wish is granted. We leave you to your perfect order and endless peace. May you find what you were looking for in our absence." Then she turned off the transmitter and set course for the Galactic Edge. Her ship was damaged and slow, but she might just make it to the rendezvous point. Admiral Grant watched the last transport ships disappear into hyperspace. The evacuation was complete. 2 billion humans were now heading into the unknown, leaving behind everything they had ever known. "Set course for the void," Lisa ordered. "It's time to go home." "Home, Admiral?" asked Captain Adams. Lisa looked at the stars one last time. "Home is where humans are, Captain. And from now on, that's going to be very far from here." The human fleet vanished into the darkness between galaxies. Behind them, the Council ships arrived to find empty worlds and abandoned cities. They had won, but it felt like losing. Admiral Velthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking down at Earth. The planet was beautiful but silent. No human voices filled the communication channels. No human ships moved between the stars. "They really left," one of his officers said. Velthar said nothing. He had expected to fight a war. Instead, he had found only emptiness. For the first time in his long life, victory felt like defeat. In the cold space beyond the galaxy, human ships traveled toward an uncertain future. They carried the hopes and dreams of an entire species. They carried the promise that humanity would survive, no matter how far they had to go. The exodus was complete. The real journey was just beginning. 20 years had passed since the last human ship disappeared into the dark space beyond the galaxy. At first, the Council members celebrated. The unpredictable element was gone. Now they could return to their ordered ways. But problems started. Almost immediately, the Veltar Confederation was the first to feel the loss. They had been humanity's closest allies before the exile. Now they faced their worst enemy alone. General Crixmore stood in his command center, watching his homeworld burn on the main screen. The consuming swarm had come from the outer regions of the galaxy. These creatures looked like giant insects but moved like machines. They ate everything in their path. "Sir, the Third Fleet is gone," reported his aide. The swarm destroyed them in less than an hour. Crixmore's forearms shook with rage. How is this possible? We have the best military in this sector. But that was the problem. The Veltar military was built on old ideas. They formed lines and shot at the enemy. They followed plans made by generals who had been dead for centuries. When humans were here, everything was different. Human advisors like Colonel Pete Adams had taught the Veltar new ways to fight. They showed them how to adapt when plans went wrong, how to think fast when the enemy did something unexpected. Now the humans were gone, and the Veltar had forgotten those lessons. The swarm did not fight in lines. They changed tactics every few minutes. When the Veltar expected them to attack from space, they came from underground. When the defenders moved to stop them, they attacked from above. "Contact the council," Crixmore ordered. "We need help." But help was slow to come. The council had to vote on everything. They had to follow procedures that took weeks to complete. By the time they decided to send aid, 3 more Veltar worlds had fallen. In the trade assembly, Senator Crixtall stared at economic reports that made no sense. For 300 years, the galactic economy had grown steadily. Now it was falling apart. "The shipping routes are broken," explained his economic advisor, a small being with gray skin and large eyes. "Human companies connected systems that were too far apart for anyone else. Now those connections are gone." Crixtall looked at the star maps. Red lines showed trade routes that no longer worked. Without human ships to carry goods between distant sectors, entire regions were cut off from the galactic economy. "What about our own ships?" Crixtall asked. "Too slow. Too expensive. Human ships could make the journey in half the time for a quarter of the cost." The numbers were getting worse every month. Food shortages in the outer rim. Medicine stuck in warehouses while people died for lack of transport. Technology that should have spread across the galaxy, staying locked on single worlds. How did we become so dependent on them? Crixtall wondered aloud. His advisor's large eyes grew sad. Because they were good at what they did, better than anyone else. Dr. Ythmore had spent his whole life studying science. He was the council's chief researcher, a position of great honor among his people. But now he felt like a failure. The data was clear and frightening. Scientific progress had almost stopped since the humans left. For the past century, humans had been involved in 60% of all major discoveries. Their minds worked differently than other races. They saw connections that others missed. They asked questions that others thought were stupid, then proved those questions led to amazing answers. "Look at this," Ythmore said to his research team. He pointed to a chart on the wall. "Before the humans left, we made an average of 50 major breakthroughs per year. Now we make fewer than 10. His assistant, a young researcher with purple fur, looked confused. "But surely we can continue their work." Ythmore shook his head. "We can copy what they did. We can follow their methods. But we cannot think like them. That is the problem." The worst example was the medical research. Humans had been working on cures for diseases that affected multiple species. They were close to solving problems that had killed billions over the centuries. But without human insight, the research had stalled. Dr. Ythmore often stayed late in his laboratory, reading human research papers. The ideas were there, but he could not make the final connections. It was like having half of a map and trying to find a hidden treasure. The crisis that changed everything started in the galactic core. Ancient machines, sleeping for millions of years, suddenly woke up. The Devourer machines had been built by a race that was gone before the Council even existed. They were programmed to destroy any advanced civilization they found. For ages they had been quiet, hidden in the dangerous space near the galaxy's center. But something had triggered their awakening. Maybe it was a cosmic event. Maybe it was just time. Whatever the cause, they were active again, and they were hungry. Admiral Velthar, the same spider-like being who had chased the human evacuation fleet, commanded the Council's response. He led a fleet of 10,000 ships toward the galactic core. "We outnumber them greatly," Velthar told his officers. "This should be an easy victory." But the Devourer machines were not like any enemy the Council had ever faced. They were smart, adaptive, and completely without fear. When the Council fleet attacked with energy weapons, the machines absorbed the energy and used it to power their own guns. When the fleet tried different tactics, the machines learned and adapted in real time. It was like fighting an enemy that could read your mind and predict your next move. The battle lasted 3 days. When it was over, Velthar limped back to Council space with less than 1,000 ships. 9,000 vessels had been destroyed or converted into more Devourer machines. "How do we fight them?" Velthar asked the Council in emergency session. No one had an answer. The combined knowledge of 47 species was not enough to solve this problem. But one old researcher remembered something. Dr. Yithmore stood up slowly, his aged body trembling. "There was an incident 50 years ago," he said, "near the Proxima system. A single Devourer machine had awakened there. It was destroying human colonies." The Council listened carefully. Most had forgotten about the Proxima incident. The humans sent a small team to investigate, Yithmore continued. They did not try to fight the machine. Instead, they reprogrammed it, turned it into a peaceful explorer. Silence filled the chamber. "How?" asked Council Prime Zeth Kaller. "I do not know." The human team was led by someone called Dr. Jennifer Cole. Their methods were classified. We never learned their secrets. The reality hit the Council like a physical blow. The one race that had solved the Devourer problem was gone. Exiled. Lost in the dark between galaxies. Reports came in daily now. More machines were awakening. They had taken control of 12 star systems and were building more of themselves. Their fleets grew stronger while the Council's forces grew weaker. Zeth Kalar stood before the great windows of his office, looking out at the stars. His crystal body was dim with worry. In all his centuries of life, he had never felt so helpless. "We made a mistake," he said to his aide. "Sir, the humans. We thought they were dangerous because they changed things too quickly, but change was exactly what we needed." His aide said nothing. There was nothing to say. Outside, ships fled from the galactic core as more Devourer machines awakened. The galaxy that had been so proud of its stability was now paying the price for its fear of change. In the outer systems, panic was spreading. Billions of beings packed their belongings and tried to escape to safer regions, but there might not be any safe regions left. The Galactic Council had spent 10,000 years building a perfect system. Now that system was crumbling, and they had exiled the one race that might have saved them. In the dark space beyond the galaxy, human ships continued their journey to an unknown destination. They did not know about the machines or the crisis. Back home, they were focused on survival, on building new lives in the void, but even if they had known, would they have cared? The galaxy had thrown them out. Now it was paying the price for that choice. The Council was learning a hard lesson. Sometimes the things that seem dangerous are actually the things that keep you safe. Sometimes the people who make you uncomfortable are the ones you need the most, but it might be too late to learn from their mistakes. Ambassador Urith of the Harmony Collective had never left the galaxy before. None of her people had. The idea of traveling beyond the edge of all known space was terrifying, but the Council was desperate. The Devourer machines controlled half. The galactic core now. Millions died every day as more worlds fell. The combined fleets of 47 species could not stop them. Only one race had ever defeated a Devourer machine, the humans. And the humans were gone. "Are you certain this is the right direction?" Urith asked Captain Velmore. "The expedition?" "Commander." Velmore looked at his navigation screens. His metal spider-like body reflected the dim light of distant stars. This is the path the human ships took 20 years ago. Our long-range sensors tracked them this far. The search fleet was the best the Council could provide. 50 ships from different species, each equipped with the most advanced sensors available. They had been traveling for 3 years, following the faint energy traces left by the human exodus. The void between galaxies was empty in a way that hurt the mind. No stars, no planets, no life at all. Just endless darkness stretching in all directions. How do humans survive in this? Wondered Dr. Kethvar, the expedition's scientist. He was a tall, thin being with blue skin and 4 arms. There is nothing here, no energy sources, no materials to build with. That is what we need to find out, Urith replied. They had been searching for months when the sensors finally detected something. A nebula glowing faintly in the distance. But this was not a natural nebula. The energy patterns were wrong. That is artificial, Velmore announced. Someone built that. As they got closer, the truth became clear. The nebula was hiding something massive. Structures that dwarfed anything in the Milky Way. Ring-shaped habitats surrounding artificial stars. Shipyards that stretched across light years of space. By the ancient gods, whispered Dr. Kethvar. They built all this in 20 years? But before they could investigate further, their ships were surrounded. The human vessels that appeared around them were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. Sleek, elegant ships that seemed to bend space around them. They moved without visible engines and radiated power beyond anything in the galaxy. Unknown vessels, you have entered human space, came a voice over the communication system. State your purpose. Urith recognized the accent. Human speech patterns had not changed. But there was something different in the tone. Colder, more distant. This is Ambassador Urith of the Galactic Council, she replied. We seek an audience with human leadership. There was a long pause. Follow our ships to Sanctuary Station. Do not deviate from the prescribed course. Any hostile action will result in immediate destruction. The voice belonged to Commander Steve Murphy of the New Terra Defense Corps. He was young for a ship commander, maybe 30 years old. But his eyes looked older, much older. Steve had been born during the exile. He had never seen Earth or any world in the Milky Way. To him, the galaxy was just a place in history books. A place that had thrown out his people when they became inconvenient. Sir, should we contact President Carter? Asked his second-in-command. Steve nodded. Tell her the Council has come calling. I think she'll want to handle this personally. Sanctuary Station was the crown jewel of human engineering in their new home. It was 10 times bigger than any space station in the Milky Way. Its walls were made of materials that seemed to absorb light and energy. As the Council ships docked, Urith saw thousands of humans going about their daily lives. Children played in parks that existed in zero gravity. Artists created sculptures from pure energy. Scientists worked with technologies that made Council science look primitive. They have not just survived, Dr. Kethvar said quietly. They have evolved. President Linda Carter was waiting for them in the main reception hall. She was the daughter of Alex Carter, the president who had led the Exodus. But where her father had been warm and diplomatic, Linda was cold and calculating. The hall itself was a message. The walls showed holographic displays of humanity's journey into exile. The hardships they had endured. The worlds they had built from nothing. The children who had been born in the dark between stars. Ambassador Urith, Linda said as the Council delegation entered. It has been a long time since we've had visitors from the galaxy. Urith tried to read the human president's expression. Linda's face showed nothing. No anger, but no welcome either. President Carter, Urith began, we come with urgent news. The galaxy is in danger. Is it? Linda's voice was calm. Please, tell me more. Urith explained about the devourer machines, the worlds that had fallen, the millions who had died, the fleets that had been destroyed or converted. We know that. Humans once defeated a devourer machine, Urith said, at Proxima, 50 years ago. We need that knowledge. We need your help. Linda listened without interruption. When Urith finished, she was quiet for a long moment. You need our help, Linda finally said. How interesting. President Carter. Please, billions of lives are at stake. Linda stood and walked to one of the wall displays. It showed the vote that had sent humanity into exile. The faces of council members celebrating their decision. 40 years ago, the council decided we were too dangerous to live in the galaxy. You cast us out because we changed things too quickly, because we solved problems in ways that made you uncomfortable. She turned back to face Urith. Now you return because you have a problem you cannot solve. Tell me, Ambassador, what has changed besides your desperation? The words hit Urith like a physical blow, but she pressed on. We made a mistake. The Council admits this. We offer full restoration of human rights, Council membership with unprecedented autonomy, even reparations for the exile. Reparations? Linda's voice showed emotion for the first time. Anger. Do you think money can bring back the million humans who died during the Exodus? Can it restore the children who will never see Earth? Dr. HFY stepped forward. President Carter, surely you understand. The galaxy is dying. Innocent beings who had nothing to do with the exile are suffering. Linda looked at him for a long moment. You are right, Dr. HFY. Many innocents are suffering. But the Council is not innocent. You made a choice 40 years ago. Now you must live with the consequences. Captain Vellamore spoke for the first time. So you will let the galaxy burn? Is this human compassion I have heard so much about? Linda smiled, but it was not a warm smile. Human compassion is exactly what you cast out, Captain. You wanted us gone when we were inconvenient. Now you want us back when you are desperate. She gestured to the wall displays. Look around you. See what we have built in the darkness. We have created something beautiful here. Something free from council interference. Why should we risk that for people who never wanted us? Urith felt her hopes crumbling. But she tried one more time. Because it is the right thing to do. Because despite everything that happened, humans are good people. Linda stared at her for a long moment. Something flickered in her eyes. Pain, maybe. Or regret. We will consider your request, Linda said finally. The Human Senate will debate this matter. You are welcome to stay on Sanctuary Station while we decide. As the council delegation was led to their quarters, Urith felt a mix of hope and fear. The humans had not said no. But they had not said yes either. And in the time it took them to decide, more worlds would fall to the devourer machines. In her private office, Linda Carter stood alone, looking out at the artificial nebula that hid her people's new home. She had been born in exile. She had grown up hearing stories of the galaxy that had rejected them. Now that galaxy needed them. The irony was almost funny. Her communication device chimed. President Carter, the Senate is ready to begin debate. Linda nodded. I'll be right there. The most important decision in human history was about to be made, and this time, humanity held all the cards. The debate had been going on for 3 days. In the new Terra Senate chamber, the most important voices in human space argued about the fate of their former home. Captain Rachel Brown stood at the speaker's podium. She commanded the human expeditionary forces, the ships that would have to fight if humanity chose to return. We have the power to save the galaxy, she said to the assembled senators. Our technology is 40 years ahead of anything the Council has. We can defeat the devourer machines. She gestured to the tactical displays that showed the machine fleets spreading through the galactic core. Every day we wait, more innocents die. How can we call ourselves human if we turn our backs on those who need help? Colonel Pete Adams stepped up to speak against her. He was old now, one of the last people who remembered Earth. His face was weathered by years in space. "The galaxy threw us away like garbage," Pete said. His voice was rough with emotion. "They poisoned our children. They planned our exile for years. Now they come crawling back because they need us." He turned to face the chamber. "We owe them nothing. We have built something pure here, something free from their corruption. Why should we sacrifice our children for people who never wanted us to exist?" Admiral Chris Morgan had spent 20 years building humanity's new fleet. His ships could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of months. Their weapons could crack planets. Their defenses could stop any attack. "From a military standpoint, we can win," he said. "But the cost will be enormous. The machines are not just destroying worlds. They are converting everything they touch into more machines. We would be fighting an enemy that grows stronger with every battle." He showed the Senate tactical projections. "We could lose half our fleet, maybe more. Is saving the galaxy worth that risk?" Dr. Kevin Walsh spoke for the civilian population. Millions of humans had been born in exile. They had never known any home but the dark between galaxies. "My people have found peace here," he said. "For the first time in human history, we have no wars, no conflicts with alien races. Our children grow up free from the politics and hatred of the galaxy." He paused, looking around the chamber. "If we return to fight, we bring that hatred back with us. We contaminate what we have built with the violence of the old world." But it was Captain Julie Evans who changed the vote. She was young, barely 30 years old. She had been born on a transport ship during the Exodus. The galaxy was just a story to her, a place in history books. "I have never seen Earth," she said when she stood to speak. "I have never breathed natural air or felt real sunlight. The Milky Way is not my home. This place is." The chamber was quiet. Many expected her to argue against returning. "But I have learned about humans from our history," she continued. "We left the galaxy to preserve what we are. If we abandon billions of innocents to save ourselves, we lose what we were meant to be." She walked to the center of the chamber. "The Council was wrong to exile us. But two wrongs do not make something right. We have the power to save lives. If we choose not to use that power, how are we different from the aliens who cast us out?" Her words echoed in the silence. "We are human. That means we protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if they do not deserve it, even if they hurt us first." The vote was close, closer than anyone expected. When the counting was finished, the decision was made by a margin of just 3 votes. Humanity would return, but not as the Council's servants. They would come as an independent force, with their own goals and their own rules. President Carter announced the decision to Ambassador Ureth in the same hall where the Council delegation had first arrived. "The human government has decided to act," she said. Her voice was formal, distant. "We will return to the galaxy and deal with the Devourer threat." Ureth felt relief flood through her body. "Thank you, President Carter. The Council will be grateful." "The Council's gratitude is not required," Linda replied coldly. "We are not doing this for the Council. We are doing it because it is right." She gestured to an aide who handed Ureth a data pad. "These are our terms. Non-negotiable. Complete sovereignty over our actions. No restrictions on human expansion. Formal recognition of our territories beyond the galactic rim." Ureth read the terms quickly. They were harsh but fair. Humanity was demanding to be treated as an equal, not as a returning member seeking forgiveness. "The Council will accept," she said. "I hope so," Linda replied, "because we are coming whether they accept or not." The human fleet that assembled at Sanctuary Station was the most powerful force ever created. 5,000 ships, each one incorporating 40 years of advancement beyond galactic technology. Admiral Rachel Brown stood on the bridge of the flagship Terra Nova, watching her fleet prepare for departure. These were not the same humans who had fled the galaxy in desperation. These were the children of exile, forged by hardship into something stronger. "All ships report ready," said Captain Julie Evans, now serving as Rachel's second-in-command. "Set course for the Galactic Rim," Rachel ordered. "It's time to go home." The journey took 3 weeks. When the human fleet crossed the edge of the Milky Way, every sensor in the galaxy detected their arrival. The Council had been expecting a few dozen ships. Instead, they got an armada. The first battle with the Devourer machines happened in the Vega system. A machine fleet had been converting the local worlds, turning them into more weapons. The humans struck without warning. Their ships appeared out of hyperspace and opened fire with weapons the machines had never seen. Quantum disruptors that tore apart matter at the molecular level, temporal mines that aged machine hulls into scrap in seconds. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the machine fleet was destroyed and the conversion process had been reversed. The worlds of Vega were free. News of the victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. Humanity had returned, and they were winning. But the humans did not stop to celebrate. They moved from system to system, hunting down machine fleets with ruthless efficiency. Their tactics were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, where the Council fought with massive fleets and traditional formations. The humans used small groups of ships that struck fast and disappeared. They used the machine's own adaptive programming against them, feeding them false data that caused them to destroy each other. Admiral Velthar, the spider-like commander who had once chased human evacuation ships, found himself working alongside the people he had tried to destroy. "How do you do it?" he asked Admiral Brown during a joint planning session. "Your ships are powerful, but not that powerful. Yet you win battles we could not." Rachel smiled. It was not a kind smile. "We learned to fight in the dark between galaxies," she said. "We had no supply lines, no reinforcements, no backup plans. We learned to win or die." She gestured to the tactical display showing machine positions. "You fight like you have something to lose. We fight like we have already lost everything. That makes us dangerous." The war against the machines lasted 6 months. When it was over, the galaxy was saved but forever changed. Humanity had not just returned as refugees seeking shelter. They had returned as a major power. The peace treaty was signed on Sanctuary Station. President Carter received delegations from every major council race. But the humans were no longer asking for permission to exist. "The galaxy is safe," Linda said in her speech to the assembled delegates. "But it will never be the same. Humanity has outgrown the need for council approval." She looked directly at Zeth Kalar, the crystal being who had delivered the ultimatum 40 years earlier. "You cast us out because we changed too quickly, because we solved problems in ways that made you uncomfortable. You wanted a galaxy without human chaos." Her voice grew cold. "You had 40 years to see what that galaxy looked like. How did you enjoy the peace and order?" The council chambers were silent. "Humanity will take our place among the galactic powers," Linda continued, "but we will not rejoin the council. We have learned to stand on our own." As the delegations returned to their ships, Ambassador Ureth approached President Carter one last time. "I am sorry," she said quietly. "For what we did. For the exile. For the years of suffering." Linda looked at her for a long moment. "Your apology is noted," she said finally. "But it changes nothing. The humans who left the galaxy 40 years ago are gone. We are what the exile made us." She turned to leave, then paused. "You wanted to know what changed besides our desperation? Everything changed. You taught us that we could only rely on ourselves. Thank you for the lesson." In the months that followed, human ships began exploring new regions of the galaxy. They established colonies in systems the Council had never touched. They made contact with races that had been isolated for millennia and in the dark space beyond. The Galactic Rim. Human cities continued to grow. Millions of people who had been born in exile chose to stay in their new home, building a civilization that owed nothing to the galaxy that had rejected them. The galaxy had learned a hard lesson about the cost of getting what you wish for. They had wanted a universe without human unpredictability. Instead, they had nearly destroyed themselves. Now humanity was back, but on their own terms. They were no longer the junior partner seeking acceptance. They were a power to be reckoned with, shaped by exile into something the galaxy had never seen before. And every time the Council looked at human ships in their space, the space station Haven Prime floated in the dark between 5 star systems. Its white metal walls gleamed under the light of distant suns. Inside the station, Ambassador Catherine Brooks walked down the long hall toward the meeting room. Her shoes made soft sounds on the smooth floor. She carried a data pad in her hands and wore the blue uniform of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Catherine had spent 10 years on Haven Prime. She knew every corner of the station and every alien species that came here seeking help. The humans had built this place as a neutral ground where different races could meet and solve their problems without fighting. It worked because everyone trusted the humans to be fair. In the meeting room, 2 very different aliens sat at opposite ends of a long table. On the left side sat Vex Commander Thrak, a Vexari warrior. His body looked like it was made of living crystal. Blue light pulsed under his clear skin. His 4 arms ended in sharp claws that could cut through steel. The Vexari were proud fighters, who valued honor above everything else. On the right side sat Trade Speaker Mollus, a Kolthak merchant. His soft purple body had 6 long arms that moved like water. Each arm ended in delicate fingers perfect for handling small objects. 2 large eyes on stalks watched everything in the room. The Kolthak were peaceful traders who had been buying and selling goods across the galaxy for thousands of years. Between them sat the problem that had brought them here. A star system called Kepler 438 had rich mining worlds that both species wanted. The Vexari claimed it by right of conquest. Their war fleets had fought and died to take those worlds from space pirates 50 years ago. The Kolthak claimed it by right of trade. Their merchant ships had been visiting those worlds for 300 years, long before the pirates ever came. "The mining rights belong to us," Thrak said. His voice sounded like breaking glass. "We bled for those worlds. We died for them. Honor demands that we keep what we won in battle." "Your people fought pirates, not us," Mollus replied. His voice was soft and musical. "Our trade agreements with the local colonies go back 10 generations. These papers prove our legal right to mine. There." He waved one arm at a stack of documents on the table. Catherine had heard this same argument for 3 days. Both sides had good points. Both sides were right in their own way. That was what made this so hard to solve. She looked at Dr. Lisa Carter, who sat quietly in the corner taking notes. Lisa was the station's expert on alien minds. She studied how different species thought and felt. Lisa had spent months learning about both the Vexari and Kolthak cultures. She understood what drove them and what they feared most. "May I suggest something?" Catherine said. Both aliens looked at her. "What if we found a way for both of you to benefit from Kepler 438? "There is no sharing in war," Thrak said. "Either we control the minds or they do." "But this is not war," Catherine replied. "This is business. Trade Speaker Mollus, your people are the best traders in the galaxy. Vex Commander Thrak, your people are the best fighters. What if you work together?" Lisa spoke up from her corner. "The Vexari value honor and strength. The Kolthak value profit and tradition. Both can be satisfied if we structure this correctly." Catherine nodded. "The Vexari can control security for the mining operations. They protect the worlds and the trade routes. In exchange, they get a share of the profits and the honor of being guardians of an important system." And the Kolthak can handle all trade and sales, Lisa added. They know the markets and have the connections to sell the minerals for the best prices. They get their traditional trading rights plus new business opportunities. Mollus's eye stalks turned toward Thrak. Your ships could protect our trade convoys. We lose many ships to pirates in that region. Thrak's crystal body pulsed with brighter light. Protecting traders is honorable work, and sharing profits would help us buy new ships for our fleet. Catherine smiled. This was how it always worked. Humans had a gift for seeing what others could not. They could look past the anger and fear to find solutions that helped everyone. It was why the galaxy had been at peace for over 200 years. Outside the meeting room, Captain Ryan Mitchell watched through the window. His ship, the UES Harmony, was docked at the station for repairs. Ryan commanded one of 12 human, peacekeeping vessels that patrolled this sector of space. His crew was trained for combat, but they rarely had to fight. Most problems could be solved with words instead of weapons. Ryan's communication officer, Lieutenant Carl Davis, approached, him with a worried look. Captain, we're getting strange readings from the deep space sensors. Something big is moving in the void between galaxies. How big? Ryan asked. Bigger than anything we've ever seen, sir. The computer can't even calculate the full size. Whatever it is, it's heading this way. Ryan felt a cold fear in his stomach. For 2 centuries, humanity had kept peace in the galaxy by being fair and reasonable. They had no enemies because they made sure everyone got what they needed. But now something was coming from outside their galaxy, something that might not care about fairness or reason. In the meeting room, Catherine was shaking hands with both Thrak and Mollus. Another successful peace negotiation was complete. The Vexari and Kolthak would work together instead of fighting. Their partnership would bring prosperity to both species and keep Kepler 438 stable. But even as they celebrated this small victory, long-range sensors across the galaxy were detecting the same massive energy signatures that Lieutenant Davis had found. Something vast and unknown was approaching from the darkness between galaxies, and when it arrived, it would test humanity's gift for peace in ways they had never imagined. The age of easy solutions was about to end.